So, where did black folks go wrong after the civil rights era movement? Coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Constant Logic Reason. As always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. So, the civil rights era movement, or the civil rights era in general, has to be one of the most celebrated points in American history. We hear it talked about all the time. Black folk will see to that. And I would say it was very important. It was a very needed movement, along with other well-needed movements in America. But the civil rights era definitely was needed. And this was a point in which black people stopped being treated as second-class citizens in America, and we started to get first-class benefits in America. There was a point in time in this country where if you were a black person, certain occupations, jobs, and lifestyle, trying to pursue them would have been, just been laughed at. Amongst white people, that is. If you were a black person, you want to be a doctor, you wanted to be a lawyer, and such high earning jobs, you couldn't have done this amongst white people. Now, maybe amongst black people you could have done it, but amongst white people in a large society, you would have been, it would have been scoffed at and just laughed at. And largely during, segregation and Jim Crow era, blacks were often just separated from white people. They had to go along and do our own thing because white society kept black folks out. Well, the civil rights era definitely was needed, and what it did was, again, give black people that first-class citizenship, status. And now a black person can achieve what they want in America amongst any other group. Is there a black man who can't be a lawyer in a larger white society? No. There's no occupation, there's no job, there's no lifestyle, there's no income that's off limits to a black man nowhere in the United States of America. Now the problem, though, because the civil rights era did its job, and it did a great job of getting black folks these rights, getting black people citizenship, first-class citizenship. But where did we go wrong after the civil rights movement is that what we should have done was we should have transitioned to the economic movement. Basically the civil rights movement and the civil rights era should have been followed up by an economic era in which we as black people started to produce economically. Unfortunately, instead of going into the economic era, we went into the Great Society area, an area in which women decided to leave their men to get checks from the government. And we see what has happened largely in the black community. We see the dysfunction in the black community because of the Great Society. Everybody's blaming this on racism. Well, black folks anyway, the left, they want to blame this on racism, but it has nothing to do with racism. It's because we chose to not go into the economic era. So many blacks chose and so many women chose the Great Society. Also, there's too many blacks in America, unfortunately, that's still stuck in the civil rights era movement. They're still out here fighting, protesting for rights that we already have. Right? They're fighting against statuses and things that black people face that we no longer face. They still have to bring up history. It's telling when black people have to constantly bring up Emmett Till as evidence of racism in America. That should be telling that they got to bring up an example from 1955. That's ridiculous. There's too many blacks still stuck in the civil rights era, and unfortunately, you have all these race hustlers keeping them there, telling them that they're victims. Again, if you want to see black people get better, and you really truly want to see blacks start to gain economically in this country, like just about every other group and race that come here off the boat with nothing, clothes on their back, and then they start building and producing. If we want to see this, we have to stop the victimhood amongst black people. And if we want to stop the victimhood, we got to leave we have to leave the civil rights era behind. It was a great era. It was needed. It was necessary. But we have to leave it behind. You can't live in the past if you expect to have a future. I mean, if you expect to build a present to have a future, you can't live in the past. And this is what so many black people are doing. We keep living in the past, and and too many blacks will keep letting these race hustlers keep them in the past. It's just stupid. So if you want to know one of the reasons why the black people aren't getting anywhere in America, it's because there's too many blacks stuck in the economic era. I mean, they're stuck in the civil rights era and refuse to get into the economic era, despite all the evidence that America is not a racist society and not hell-bent on keeping a black man down. That's just simply how it is. So anyway, we need to leave the civil rights movement behind. Forget it? No. But not living it? No. Anyway, y'all, as always, until next time.